Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at a really neat rifle. I've followed this company right since the time their inception. The first time I took a look at one of their receivers was probably about 10 years ago. At that time, Radian Firearms was known as AXTX. And they had put out one of the most incredible lower receivers that I had ever seen. I contacted Josh Underwood at the time, president of the company, and said I'd like to review one, and he had sent me one out. And it was some of the neatest technology I've come across so far. And I've followed them all the way, to where they're at today. Now, we did a review on one of these, a couple, 3 years ago at least, maybe 4 years ago. So that rifle had gone back to them. This rifle here is my personal rifle. And it's one that all I can really say is Josh Underwood, he works with aluminum and steel like Picasso works with oils. This is probably one of the finest engineered rifle, fit and finish, aesthetics, machining that I really ever come across. And I really do love it. Now, there's a couple things that were changed on here. I got this rifle as a complete upper, and then I got it as a strip lower. So I put on the features that I preferred. I preferred the LMT SOP mod stock. I prefer the Magpul pistol grip. So those are things that I added to it, where normally he does use Magpul products on the stock as well as the pistol grip, but he uses a different one of their pistol grips. I happen to really like this, but the rest of the stuff is basically exactly what Radian has. Now, this is not for the faint-hearted when it comes to costs. You are literally looking at an MSRP of around $3,179. Now, overall, if you look at the machine that has gone into this, and you look at the overall quality, this barrel being a match grade barrel, that price is about where it needs to be. If you look at all the parts we're going to go over here that are not proprietary, but they're parts that are manufactured and designed by Radian, you will really see where this price comes from. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to start going from the muzzle to the back, and then we're going to take it apart, take a look at some parts as well. So starting at the muzzle, all the rifles coming out of Radian utilize the ASR mount, which I was very happy about because most of my suppressors are silencer co. Next is the barrel. You have a 416R stainless steel 16-inch barrel with a mid-length gas system. This is a match grade barrel. It has polished feed ramps, polished crown on the barrel. It is just a precision barrel that's fully free-floated within this handguard. Now, the handguard that you see here is two pieces. You have a part here and a part here. This handguard attaches right to the upper receiver. It takes all the stress off of the barrel nut. So that gives you that full free-floating rail. Now, if we look at the top here, now to the rear, we have a full solid 1913 rail. But if you notice up here, you'll see where you have some cuts in here. Now, what these cuts were for is to relieve weight, to take some weight off of it. So it does not affect anything about the putting your optics or anything on there. It just eliminates the bars in between. And again, this is actually, considering how heavy the receiver is, you do lose a lot of weight. Now overall, you're looking at probably about 8 pounds here with a 16-inch barrel, stripped without anything on it. So that's part of the handguard. Now, I have a Surefire flashlight with touchpad on the right side, and we also have MBus Pro Magpul backup sight in the front. And what you see here are the Magpul M-Lock grip panels. Now, they're not as effective as the Manta, but they're easier to hold on to when the rifle gets hot, because these have a lot more surface on them. Again, they get hotter than the Manta ones, but these would just cover a little bit more surface. So I do like these as well. So I do use some different things that are on there. Now, your upper receivers and your handguard is 7075 T6 aircraft grade aluminum. Mil spec, this anodized, hard coat anodizing black. Now, these are offered in several different colors. They do Cerakote in several different colors. Again, I prefer the term black rifle. I prefer my rifles black. Rear, you have the MBus Pro. The optic I chose on here was a Vortex. This particular one, it's a 1-6 power. Normally you put these on a 308, but it worked very well on this rifle as well. Now, the charging handle. This is probably the most popular one there is in the industry right now. We're going to be taking this out because I want to show you some special features of it, but this is referred to as the Freedom Bone. It's designed for use with a sound suppressor to try to keep gas from coming back into the shooter's face. It's fully ambidextrous on both sides. This is probably right now one of the most significant ones that's used by OEMs throughout the industry. Radian Arms sells an extremely large amount of these to other manufacturers for them to put in their guns, and of course Radian also will laser engrave their logos on them too. I just seen a Colt rifle not too long ago that even had Colt on there. They make these charging handles in both 5.56, like a regular AR-15 type, and they make an AR-10 type as well. Now we're going to take a look at the sides here. Now this is just as a forward assist, is a lightweight forward assist that was made by Radian. So this is a Radian part. It's just more of a lightweight. You can also see how they move the forward assist forward. Basically, that makes it so your finger doesn't catch it when you're pulling the charging handle back. You have a standard cartridge case deflector, and you have a ejection port dust cover. Now we're going to talk about the really interesting things. This is what's referred to as the ADAC. Now when we look right here, we have a bolt release. So when we push this, it releases the bolt. What ADAC is, the magazine release works for two different things. One is to release the magazine. Two, it works as a bolt catch. So basically what you're doing is you're pushing the magazine release button all the way in, pulling the charging handle back, and that lifts the bolt catch up, and it locks it open to the rear. Now it can be released either from the right side or the left side. Now if you think about it, if you have to clear a malfunction, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to tell you to drop the magazine. As soon as you would drop the magazine and clear your malfunction, you push in the magazine release, you hold it there, and that will open it up. That will allow anything that's in there to fall out unless you have to use some kind of a tool to get it out. It's very, very useful. I think it's a lot easier to use than even using the ping pong paddle on the left-hand side. The stock I have here is the LMT SOP mod stock, and the receiver extension that I chose, you can see the numbers on here. This is a Voltor. You can look through the hole here and you can see which setting you're on. This particular one is one of the 5-position ones. So that's a Voltor part. Again, he doesn't use those on his regular rifles. But again, this is just, there's a few parts I just changed out I didn't change them out, but I added, because again, I got this as a strip lower. Now, also you have on here the Radian Talon safety selector. Now, this is also, I think, probably one of the nicer ones in the industry. You can also use different ones. Each side, you have a little detent, and you can pull the lever off, and you can go ahead and choose different legs. For instance, on this side, you'll see we have a standard long one, because again, I'm a right-handed shooter. On the left-hand side, you have one as well. So if you're left-handed, you could, but I use a shorter one on here. Now, the shorter one on here, the reason you do that is when you're in fire, they won't touch your finger. That's why you have a shorter one on the right-hand side than you do on your left-hand side. But if you were left-handed, you would switch it. You would have a shorter one on the left side and the longer one on the right side. But you could. This is user interchangeable. Now, also, if you look at it, we have a magazine release button. This is also their own take on it. It's fully recessive. Look at the way you have this boss around here. This rifle was to drop on its side. There's no way for anything to touch this bolt, to touch this magazine release. So you have a full boss on here. It totally protects both the right side bolt release and the magazine release button. Again, this is all sunken in, so it does not stick out. Again, we have a trigger guard, which is oversized for use with gloves, and that's part of the lower receiver. Now, looking at the left-hand side, you'll see we have the safety over here, and you'll see we have an ambidextrous magazine release. Again, everything is flush, nothing's sticking out except for the ping pong paddle here. So if you can do that here. If you also notice here, you have a little bit of an angle here, so it's going to be easier for you to hit with your finger. So now I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the inside. And we'll go over some things on some features that I have on here. Now, the triggers I put on here is also one of my choosing. Now, when you look at the lower receiver, you can see we have the Geissele SSA trigger. Beautiful trigger. It's one of my favorites. I don't use as many of them anymore because I have a hard time getting anything out of Geissele like I used to. I very rarely can get anything out of them now. Now we're going to show you exactly how the ADAC works. Now we can see the bolt catch right here that's flush. When I push the magazine release button in all the way, you can see how it lifts up to engage. And you have an angle here, so the bolt will ride over it and then it'll catch. So you can see how that works. Now, if somebody was to look at that and say, I don't like that, they could very well, you just remove the pin in here and it'll work as normal. But you also can see that when you push your magazine release, it pulls it down. Again, the right side, this is a bolt catch release only. Does not engage. If you want to engage, you push in the ADAC system. Now for the buffer we have an H2 in here. The reason we have an H2 buffer in here is because this is an extremely heavy barrel. And that goes along with the bolt carrier bounce. It totally eliminates the bolt carrier bounce. We also have one of the Voltor receiver extension end plates, as you can see right here. This is for the HK hook style. Now we're going to take a look at some of the upper receiver. First thing we're going to take a look at is the bolt carrier. Now this is also made by Radian. As you can see that we have it's rather larger on the outside. What this does is it keeps it centered properly in the receiver extension. It doesn't move around as much, so it prevents any kind of tilting. So you can see how that is on the it's a little raised portion in the rear. You also see they have their own unique sculpture on here too, so it's flat. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is what actual parts of the bolt carrier engage the receiver. It's only these small areas here that are hitting the upper receiver, inside the upper receiver. Regular mil-spec bolt. This is all made by Radian. As you can see, it's nitrided. Radian does like to use the nitride finish on a lot of their components. Now we're going to take a closer look at this specific Raptor charging handle. Now, this is again called the Freedom Bone. As you see right here, you see all these different channels in here. What that does is the gas, as it comes back, it blows the gas forward instead of rearward. Now, I've used this with suppressors, and I can't say as I see a lot of difference. Probably the one that I use the most that I like is the it's tried and true and it's old, is the PRI gas buster, because it actually comes down and it prevents gas from coming out. This basically does push some forward, but you still have nothing in the rear to protect the gas from coming back and hitting you in the face. Now, this is their specialized one. The ones that they use throughout the industry, that it's the OEM. This is not the Freedom Bone. It's a regular charging handle in the front. This is a specific one that you can get. This is called the Raptor SD. Now, the standard Raptor is like a regular charging handle up front, but it maintains the ambidextrous controls. And again, you can push on either side with no issue whatsoever. Again, looking at the receiver again, all I can say is wow when you look at the way this is machined. Now, speaking with the guys over there, one of the reasons why these rifles are so incredible is there was one guy manufacturing them. There's one guy who assembled them. Now, this is not what you would call a mass-produced rifle. You have one guy who does them all, and he pays incredible attention to detail. Let's put this back together here. Now, again, it is muzzle heavy because it is a heavy barrel. However, it's very well balanced. The fit and finish, again, as I said, are absolutely incredible. We're going to take this to the range now. We're going to see how it shoots. So we prefer using the challenge targets for several reasons. One, it's the sound. Two, for the most part, you're never going to get attacked by a bullseye. So when you are engaging targets, you want to use a human silhouette target because that's what you're actually going to see. And humans don't have a bullseye on them. So for as far as training is concerned, for real world, those targets are a lot more effective. They're a lot better for your training because again, you don't have that precise aiming point. So these are the main reasons why I prefer the challenge targets. You get that immediate feedback. It's more practical. It's like when you're in the military and you're doing qualifications there on the pop-up targets. Again, there's no bullseye on there. They're not. It's not like you're in the Marine Corps where you're shooting at known distance with bullseye targets. This is a more practical type of shooting. So we do have a code for that if you want to save 10%, which is SAS. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share.